World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Over a decade since its inauguration, the China-Europe Freight Train Service, a flagship program of the Belt and Road Initiative, has proven to be a stabilizer of trade exchanges amid global turmoil. The extensive network currently serves 223 cities in 25 European countries and over 100 cities in 11 Asian countries, with this service covering almost the entire Eurasian continent. The service has become an important booster of economic development of both China and Europe, which is also a demonstration of economic win-win. For more discussion, we are joined by Ivona Lajevac, Deputy Director of the Institute of International Politics and Economics within Belgrade, Serbia. Also, Hussein Asghari, Vice Chairman of the Belt and Road Institute in Sweden. Last but not least, Qi Qiang, Research Fellow of the Global Issues at Beijing Foreign Studies University. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. We look at what the China-Europe Rail Service has achieved. Many would say, wow. So to you, Ivona, what kind of change it has brought to the communities along the road?
Due to the numbers and figures that we can saw from their reports, how many cities in Europe became connected with Chinese cities, and I'm especially proud that Serbia is among all those cities, because in March this year, Belgrade also reached the train that was sent from China. So this is not only the hope, but also the good possibility for the future for all these countries, that their economies will not be so much affected by all these changes in a geopolitical arena of today, but they can promote their economies in these connections and using by Chinese railway.
Right. So more than 120 Chinese cities and more than 200 European cities in 25 countries and regions are being connected as we speak through this railroad alone. And when it comes to the future potential, of course, there's still also a great space out there. Hussein.
This connection between China and Europe, between East and West, is a very important story to tell. But also, I mean, economically, what it does, it transcends all the differences, all the difficulties that are involved, like geopolitical problems, conflicts, and so on. And this railway has shown enormous resilience in the face of everything that has been put in its way. So now I think it's with the Belt and Road Initiative, the next 10 years, I was at the third Belt and Road Forum, and the President Xi Jinping and President of Kazakhstan discussed even further expansion of this railway. So we might see, even with Russia, that there will be enormous expansion of this important artery of world economy. But also, I think there's one important point, is that because it's not simply the two extremes communicating with each other, it's very important to understand what happens in between the two extremes in Central Asia, parts of Russia, Eastern Europe, the Caspian Sea, is that at every 100 kilometers, this railway can spread productivity, wealth, and connectivity across the Eurasian continent. And I think this is a fascinating idea.
Mr. Qi, of course, earlier this railroad is rather symbolic, but now looking at the numbers that all of us have illustrated earlier, this has become an important lifeline also for China, not to mention for the reason of connectivity.
Oh, yes. There is a little story back in the 1960s in China, because at that time, because of the Cold War, China was a bit surrounded by, a different camp of the international forces. And at that time, China is really desperate to import what's important to them, for example, oil and gases. And there's only one lifeline supporting this kind of an import, that is through the Pakistan. It's called China-Pakistan Highway. And by that little road is supporting the whole country's operation. But right now, just take a look at the geopolitical conflicts right now happening around the world. We have Houthi conflicts in Yemen. We have the Red Sea crisis. We have the Palestine crisis going on, and the Russian crisis and Ukraine crisis going on. So internationally, we all see ocean transportation is one of the best solutions. But right now, we have the railways. So, this year, we've been opening the China, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan railway, and the third phase of the China-Kazakhstan railway is also in a discussion, and connecting to the Europe with the Serbian railway and the Hungarian railway. So it provides a whole continent, the whole world, another lifeline, supporting, the lifeline of the raw materials and energy. So it gives the whole world a plan B. Just take a look at the experience China used to suffer from. And I think that lesson has been well learned, and we won't let that thing happen again.
Yeah, this is taking place when we talk about the increasing connectivity at a time when the world is more fragmented, when the geopolitical issue has become filtered into everything that we have been talking about today in our lives. So, Hussein, to you, how to maintain the vitality of this railroad, and also to make sure it is the common folks along the road that's going to benefit from this, no matter what the political changes when governments are shifting.
We have to differentiate between what politicians, what think tanks and media say, and what reality says.
That's a good
when
point.
we communicate with people who have businesses, who have industries, who are in the shipping business, they look at this as a very, very important opportunity. Politicians, unfortunately, today, especially in Western Europe and the United States, are not really in reality, because what this railway means, what the cooperation with China means, is the vitality of the economic development and sustainability in Europe depends very much on cooperation with China, but also cooperation with other nations like Russia. I mean, we have seen the enormous disruptions of the economy in Europe because of the blocking, because of the war in Ukraine. When the COVID-19 broke out, this railway became a lifeline, a real, literal lifeline for European hospitals and healthcare systems, because most of the shipping by sea was disrupted and delayed. This railway became very important for the import of materials from China, for the healthcare system, machinery, respirators, and so on and so forth. So this railway became very, very vital, and it exploded in, the numbers of trains exploded in 2020, 2021. Once again, with the outbreak of the Ukraine war, I actually was asked to make a study about what will happen to this railway, because it transits through Russia and Belarus, two countries who are considered as part of the war. And I looked at the sanctions, I looked at the cooperation with the shipping company, and I said, look, this is not going to stop, because this is very important for European industries. And actually, it did happen this way, because there was a short period of 2 months when the shipping reduced by 50%, but after that, it picked up. And my prediction was correct, because even with the war, the shipping between Russia, Belarus, China, of course, and the EU continued along this railway through Poland. And Poland is even investing more today on the border with Belarus, because they believe this is the future for Poland's economic progress. So this is very important in the sense that politicians say something, but reality on the ground says something different. The people, the businesses, the industries, they depend. The world is connected today. You cannot disconnect anymore. Yeah. And this railway is a very good example of that.
I think Hussein does have a point over there. It's very important, how you see a divorce of rhetorics and realities today. To you, Mr. Chang, tell me more about your thoughts on this.
Well, a lot of people say, on-land transportation is not sustainable. Ocean transportation is the only solution. Well, in the good days, yes, it is. It's more economic, it's faster and more affordable. But you have to consider, in the not so good days like today currently, you need to price in the other factors. For example, like all kinds of the crisis. And also, it's called the dot-to-dot transportation. For example, you're shipping something from Rotterdam to Singapore. It means only Rotterdam and Singapore will benefit from it. And along the route, like tens of thousands of kilometers, no city will benefit from it. Even the nearest, Malaysia, ports wouldn't even benefit at all from this kind of the trade. But more and more of the ships are jamming outside the port of Singapore. So the benefit all goes to a few ports, a few countries. But take a look at the online transportation.
Okay.
Why is more sustainable? Because you have what we call filter down effect. Because along the road from China to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, to the Caspian Sea nations, to the Middle Europe and Eastern Europe, every nation along the road will benefit from it, and it's more sustainable. It's more, risk-proof against all kinds of, the pirate hijacking or the ocean-dominant countries hijacking of the whole agenda. In the long run, you're going to see this Plan B is not only a good solution, but also a must solution.
Go to you, Ivona. You're in Serbia, you're benefiting as one of the many countries along the road. Tell us, what is the reality over there? How do you see the sustainable and the resilience issue?
As history shows too many times, from something bad, we now have something good. And speaking of bad, that was the pandemic. When we transferred, as Hussein said, from the airplane transportation and the ship transportation to this railway. And for all these, let's say 5 years almost, we saw how beneficial railway is, and that it made transportation even more cheaper, but it also pushed the countries to negotiate with themselves to diminish tariffs and trades, and to speed up some regulatives in order to make these procedures more smooth. So this is how railway turns to be the transportation of the future, I would say. So it got somehow this new energy and became more welcomed in all these countries.
People would say, well, you guys are talking heads, and therefore you give us a big analysis of the railway. Have you guys really, along the road, been benefiting personally through this railway? And how do you think your efforts could also help others?
Both myself and I know some people who have businesses, when they need, I needed a special battery for a camera, which was a bit old. And I wanted to order it, and I found it on, Alibaba. And it came along this railway. I could track it. This is what is fascinating about the China-EU railway. I can track my package. And also it has become so smooth moving from China to Europe with all the customs clearances and everything.
Yeah.
I have a friend in Holland. He has a printing factory, and he always orders things. He chooses the China railway for shipping because it's more secure, it's faster, and it's cheaper than air freight.
Well, I can join Hussein in saying this because the Alibaba is a very welcomed platform here in Serbia, and a lot of my friends also using it to order some goods. But I would say that a lot of infrastructure projects that has been done here in Serbia under the Belt and Road Initiative couldn't be done so easy and so fast, or at least as it planned, if there was no railway transportation between China and Serbia, because all these equipment and all necessary materials came to this railway. And this is how we completed all projects that we planned, speaking mostly about the bridge that was finished under the planned time framework, but also the highway and the other infrastructure projects.
I see.
So we are voting for the railway transportation and getting all these equipment that either needs the persons or the enterprises.
Chang?
Well, you're very lucky because last week I was in Xinjiang, and I visited two cities actually are, very much connected to this Belt and Road connectivities. One is Kashgar, another is, Ili. And Kashgar, they used to be a very important connecting dot for the China-Pakistan Railway. And, Kashgar used to be very poor. 80% of the population are joining the agriculture. But with the opening of the China-Pakistan Railway, the local trade and income has been doubled. And urbanization goes on really fast. And we're talking about only within 5 years. And this year, the Tajikistan and Uzbekistan Railway is going to open. And immediately, the investment has already been doubled within 6 months. Shunfeng, a very important Chinese logistic company, immediately purchased more than 500 mu, is very large land, in the Kashgar and build a logistic park. And we're looking at more than 3,000 new jobs that can be added into that place. And more of the trade volume is going to double that.
Right.
Actually, from the 200,000 of the TEU standard containers to more than 800,000. And Ely is the same thing because they have the Horgos port connecting to Kazakhstan. And if you can go there, just traveling to there, you'll find people mountain, people see restaurant, hotels, and everything. The businessmen are gathering around there, and you're going to see the shipment and the trade volume is huge. And China has become, Horgos, a very little city, has become the largest Chinese city with the exchange arrangement with Kazakhstan Django.
Right.
It's even larger size than Beijing's foreign exchange with Kazakhstan. So you can imagine the size of income and trade.
Well, the list that goes on. If we go into the personal conversations, there will be a tremendous amount of examples. Having said that, though, what about its implications for the current discussion? For example, Belt and Road. Earlier, there was the concern whether Belt and Road Initiative is there eventually to benefit China and China alone. And it seems that from your description, things are not like that. But for the next steps of Belt and Road, especially high quality development and high quality cooperation, Ivona, what's on your mind? How can we make sure that this railroad will be also a platform for much elevated level of cooperation for green transformation, for further benefits of the local communities along the road?
For the next stage, let's say that this first stage of the Belt and Road Initiative was more infrastructure oriented. Now we can go to fulfill this goal of having green energy and also the brighter future of the entire humanity, because all of us are faced with these climate changes and all other problems that are connected with it. In this respect, railway and using of the railway can help a lot, because all these fuel gases would be diminished by using the railway, and this is how the railway can help in reaching that goal. But even further, there are some other aspects that can be maybe introduced in this railway. Now, when you're speaking about this transportation and everything about the goods, I was thinking, and why not develop a railway and for the people? Because, you know, somehow it was very interesting to have a train and to go to Russia, and it was the Russian train to travel around Russia. It would be interesting for bringing people more closer, because you can choose to come from China to visit Central Asia and maybe even to Europe. Of course, it would be long lasting, but this also can be used to give an impetus to touristic potential of the railway.
Hussein, you have been doing research about Belt and Road from day one. Meanwhile, earlier you spent more than 15 years on the early stage of the modern Silk Road. Tell us your thoughts on what is likely to be the elevated level of cooperation and development.
We can see also in the fact that both Afghanistan and Pakistan can become important players in the whole Belt and Road, with economic development plans now that the geopolitical issue is removed with the withdrawal of NATO from Afghanistan, and China's important role to support the development of Afghanistan, but also the China-Pakistan economic corridor. We will have new centers of economic power in Asia itself. West Asia, Iran, the Arab countries. We saw the big development with the China Arab States Forum recently, that these countries will become almost equal to Europe in economic weight. And therefore, the development through the Belt and Road of those regions between Europe and China will take big importance. And in that sense, Europe can benefit by participating with China in developing those regions, the same way we can benefit here in Europe by joining China in developing African economies, because we still have very important industrial construction and other technologies which are beneficial for all humanity, but they are not being used. And therefore, this is a great opportunity that besides the China-Europe corridor, we will have many, many corridors stretching from East Asia through Central South Asia to West Asia and to the rest of the world. And I think this is going to be the biggest shift in the coming years.
Hussein, Ivona, Chang, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.